like, he's gonna send it to you, right? So,
What brand of stabilizer is that?
DJI. It's a pretty good one, yeah.
Why? Yes, that's that. So what? Yeah, Latvians.
Таня, может, вы с краю сядете, чтобы она могла бегать туда-сюда, знаешь, с краешка.
I know.
Или там где-то с краешка. Лучше здесь, потому что она может сбоку бегать тогда. Не-не-не, it's okay.
Колись з вами продовжимо.
Иди посмотри, какие здесь есть статуи. Смотри, какие. Ну, это нельзя трогать. Нельзя трогать. Какая тебе нравится? Смотри, какая тебе нравится. Пойдем что-то посмотрим вкусненькое.
Очень вкуснятушка, батончик, конечно,
Идем. Таня, Таня, Таня.
In 1939, Winston Churchill said that Russia was originally wrapped in history, inside, and in Europe. Well, Mr. Churchill, we now know that none of that is true. Russia is very don't worry.
Seems to be going. I didn't check the sound though. That's okay. When I'm chatting. Yes, yes, yes. Yes.
Дорогі друзі, будь ласка, займайте місця, ми будемо розпочинати. Dear friends, please take your seats. We would like to start our program. Thank you. Dear friends, welcome to the commemoration of 365 days of Russian aggression and war in Ukraine. Thank you all for being here. We would like to begin our program with a prayer for Ukraine, led by our spiritual leaders, Father Igor and Vasil, during which we would like to ask you all to turn on your candles. This will be followed by a moment of silence for the lives lost during this terrible war.
Turn on your candles, turn off your cell phones. Stand up.
Благословений Бог наш, завжди нині повсякчас і на віки вічні. Амінь. Слава тобі, Боже наш, слава тобі, Царю Небесний, утішителю душі істини, що всюди єси і все наповняєш, скарби ніби життя подателю, прийди і вселися в нас, і очисти нас від всякої скверні, і спаси благі душі наші. Святий кріпкий, святий безсмертний, помилуй нас. Святий Боже, святий кріпкий, святий безсмертний, помилуй нас.
Holy God, holy mighty, holy immortal, have mercy on us.
Слава Отцю і Сину і Святому Духові, і нині і повсякчас і на віки віків. Амінь. Пресвята Тройце, помилуй нас, Господи, очисти ріки наші, Владико, прости беззаконня наші, святий посвяти ісцілення наші, імене Твого роди. Господи, помилуй, Господи, помилуй, Господи, помилуй. Слава Отцю і Сину і Святому Духові, і нині і повсякчас і на віки віків. Амінь. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory, the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, now and ever, and to the ages of ages.
Amen.
Let us pray to the Lord.
Lord, have mercy.
Heavenly Father, your Son taught us, blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. You are the source of true peace, and we become peacemakers when we listen to and preserve in your word. Therefore, Lord, in this time of war, we beseech you, sustain the people of Ukraine. Teach them and us to be devoted to justice and peace. Grant that us and them wisdom and prudence, strength and perseverance to defend your land from great attacks. We implore you, comfort the afflicted, heal the wounded, free the captives, and convert those who foster aggression and war. Receive and accept the souls of those killed and all the faithful departed in your heavenly kingdom.
Допоможи нам усім жити згідно із Твоєю божественною волею, за заступництвом Пресвятої Богородиці і Пресвятої Марії, Цариці України. Учини, щоб ті, що творять мир, витривали в добрі, а ті, що його руйнують, навернулися від зла і віднайшли зцілення своїх душевних недуг. Бо Ти є цар миру, і Тобі ми славу посилаємо, і з єдинородним Твоїм Сином, Пресвятим Благим і Животворящим Твоїм Духом, нині повсякчас і на віки вічні. Амінь. Зараз, дорогі браті і сестри, хвилиною мовчання нашими запаленими свічками вшануймо пам'ять усіх наших братів і сестер, усіх діточок, усіх жінок, усіх воїнів української армії, які віддали своє життя у боротьбі за свободу і незалежність нашої рідної неньки України, особливо за усі ці мужні серця, які загинули під час минулого року в обороні нашої рідної неньки України. Нехай вони спочивають з Богом.
Please let us remember those who are taken from us, the innocent, those that were defending Ukraine and their people. Let us remember them by a moment of silence. Those that were taken from us. We don't know who believes, but we know that God will forgive us.
У блаженному успенні вічний упокій подай, Господи, усім воїнам української армії, що віддали своє життя в обороні свободи і незалежності нашої рідненьки України, і усім нашим братам і сестрам, і усім діточкам, Христу і слава Україні!
Tú quieres estar donde mi carro está, tu carro no puede estar donde el mío, solo que se checa.
Thank you. Dear friends, and now please raise for the American anthem sang by Margarita Kuzina and the Ukrainian anthem sang by children of Midna Shkola and Margarita
Pero me
Kuzina.
repetieron que estaba en la feria de cultura de Luis. Mi carro, pues, ya venía a
Oh,
estaba con él en una borracha.
can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets rang out, the bombs bursting in gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Compras uno y sí, porque ya si lo compras uno, porque a veces si compras uno solo, ¿cuánto vale? ¿Como $8 igual? Sí, sí.
Zil by Микола Лисенко to the lyric by Олександр Кониський. Червона Калина. They will perform a dance titled Spear and Saber with choreography by Pavlo Virsky. Cultural Center, Ms. Larissa Rifle.
Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you to the Ukrainian Culture Center of Los Angeles. It's an honor to be here with you, and I want to thank our priest, Father Caution and Father Sunshua, for such a loving candlelight ceremony. It really underscores our purpose for being here today as we stand shoulder to shoulder with one another in support for Ukraine, while we remember those who have sacrificed the most. As I look out into the audience, I realize what a privilege it is to stand here before you and say humbly, thank you. To city leaders, to the board of directors of the Ukrainian Culture Center and its members, to the sea of volunteers associated with Ukrainian organizations, I say thank you for 365 days of tireless work. There are a myriad of topics that we could cover when it comes to talking about the Russian invasion of Ukraine. We could talk about the return of realpolitik. We could talk about Ukraine's geostrategic position in the world. We could talk about the number of nuclear weapons that people have. But the one topic I return to most often is never again. Systemic anti-Ukrainianism has been a feature of Russia's orientation to Ukraine for hundreds of years. It is this hatred that has brought us to this moment today. When you consider the mass graves found in Bucha, in Irpin, when you consider the rape of women and the rape of children by Russian military personnel, when you consider that the Russian military deliberately bombs schools and children's hospitals, it begs the question, are we sure that we need never again? Because you see, never again is not a passive exercise. The number of Ukrainian organizations working to support Ukraine during this war that are here today are a testament to that. Each of you sitting in this audience is likely sitting next to somebody who has since learned how to charter an airplane, how to fill shipping containers with humanitarian goods, how to organize the production of thousands and thousands of medical kits to be delivered to the front lines, how to deliver a centrifuge to a military hospital. Maybe you're even sitting next to somebody whose hand carried drones to cities like Bakhmut. It's even more likely you're sitting next to somebody who's lost somebody, a brother, a sister, an uncle, a father, a friend. It's easy to tell. You can see it in their eyes. Martin Garrix wrote a song called "We Are the People We've Been Waiting For." And the lyrics are, we are the people we've been waiting for, out of the ruins of hate and war. Army of lovers never seen before. We are the people we've been waiting for. When I think about those words, I think of you. I think of the Ukrainian organizations in the diaspora. You are the people we've been waiting for. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce you to our army, the Army of the Diaspora. Please stand. Stand with Ukraine Foundation. Please stand. Please stand. Globe for Ukraine. Please stand. Go Ukraina. Please stand. Ukraine now. Please stand. What a future for Ukraine in the next spring. Please stand. What a Ukraine Foundation. Please stand. Art for Peace. All 8 artists. Art for Ukraine. The Ukrainian Art Center. Rita Schwala. Ukraina. Art Committee. House of Ukraine in San Diego. The Ukrainian National Women's League of North America. And the Ukrainian Culture Center of Los Angeles. You know, a year ago, we all woke up in the morning, and before we got our first cup of coffee, we checked our phones and our televisions to see whether or not President Zelensky was still alive. Today, we wake up to see how much territory Ukraine has taken back. Ukraine is going to continue to fight. Ukraine will win, and she will thrive again. Slava Ukraini! It's my pleasure now to introduce to you one of the greatest supporters of Ukraine in Congress. We welcome here today Congressman Brand Sherman of the 32nd District.
Hello, I'm Brad Sherman from America's best named city, Sherman Oaks. And for over 26 years, I've represented most of the San Fernando Valley for the United States Congress. I see we have Hilda Solis, our county supervisor here, who also served in the United States Congress, so she brought her expertise back to help us here in Los Angeles County. I am pleased to join so many Ukrainian Americans. Some of you have arrived in the United States just in the last few years, some in recent decades. I am also a Ukrainian American. My grandparents came here about 120 years ago. And it is heartbreaking to see what Putin's forces have done to the people of Ukraine. Now, for 26 years I've served on the Foreign Affairs Committee, and the way I put it is have been fighting for Ukraine before Ukraine was cool. It began this effort in 2013. We saw Maidan. And I want to introduce, you probably know him already, Igor Pasternak from the Lab, who first got me involved in the effort. And so since then, I've met with every ambassador that Ukraine has sent to Washington, to Prime Minister Ray Zaman, to Prime Minister Zia, my pronunciation. It's been 125 years since my people were in Ukraine. My pronunciation is not good. Timoshenko, and of course President Zelensky. And I've met so many times with the new ambassador, of course, Mark Arbor. Pronunciation's there. Anyway, we've got a long way to go. Our own, and I'll give them credit, our own intel community warned the world that Putin would actually invade. The Europeans said no. Zelensky said it wasn't going to happen. It did. But then our own intel community told us that the Ukrainian people wouldn't fight. And Zelensky said the opposite, and he was right. And they have fought with more determination and skill than anyone would have imagined. When the forces were built up, our intel may not be in Ukraine. Now, who knows, there may not be a Putin. Their goal of taking over the whole country is no longer even a dream in Moscow. Now, though, there's these additional territory while Ukraine fights territorial integrity. We've seen the death of about 250,000 people. 8 million Ukrainians have become refugees internationally, 6 million more displaced internally, 1.6 million in need of humanitarian assistance. We've seen, I know you'll be hearing from an economist who will tell you far more, but $138 billion of damage to Ukraine's infrastructure and a 30% decline in Ukraine's GDP. So America must be a good friend to Ukraine until victory is obtained, but long after that, because the victory isn't complete until Ukraine is rebuilt. So I've fought to try to get Ukraine the defense systems it needs. I remember dealing with the Obama administration where they said, well, we want to help their defense, we just can't provide anything that's lethal. My response is, guns aren't lethal. Only bullets are lethal. And in fact, with some pressure, they provided an awful lot. The Trump administration finally dropped this idea on no lethal weapon systems. But obviously it wasn't enough to deter the invasion, and so we have to deal with the much more difficult prospect of reversing the invasion. I began legislatively in my efforts with the Ukraine Support Act back in 2014. Last year, in my bill, the Ukraine and Belarus Financial Sanctions Act passed the House. Right now, there are two things we need to focus on. One is getting Ukraine the weapon system it needs, and that starts with tanks. The Abrams tanks need to be delivered soon. But it also starts with training Ukrainian pilots. So if a decision needs to be made, you're ready to go. And let Putin and his general staff know that the pilots are being trained. The second thing we need to do is to make sure that China is not providing weapons to Russia.
That's right.
In about a week, I'm going to be introducing the China-Ukraine Consumer Protection Act.
Yes.
I can't imagine you realize what the bill will do from that title, but what we'll do, and I want everybody in Beijing to know this right up front, that if they provide lethal weapons, buying this product may facilitate war crimes in Ukraine.
All right.
You want to see these stickers on Chinese-made products? I want to see China not send weapons to Russia.
Yes.
China has put forward a peace proposal which is missing the one essential element, which is this is not a war in which two sides are equally morally culpable. This is a war, or special, we're supposed to call it a special military?
Yes.
This is a war because one country invaded another sovereign country. And I've dealt with Chinese diplomats for decades, and they're all in favor of respecting national sovereignty. It's time they recognize invasion is the single greatest way to invade and to show a disrespect for international borders. So I look forward to working with all of you. I know many of you would like to hear me speak for an hour. That's exactly what we're going to do. On March 28th, I have my telephone town hall. Sign up at bradsherman.house.gov. But for now, I think I've talked long enough, except I have a special presentation to the Cultural Center. Larissa, you here? Oh. Ah, she's hiding. One of the neat things I get to do as a member of Congress is to get a flag that's flown over the Capitol in Washington, D.C., and to give it to an organization that is of outstanding service to us in LA and really to the world. And I'd like to give you this flag. Ukrainian people are a people of faith. We had the priests here at the beginning. And yet even in a community of faith, there's always a doubting Thomas, a skeptic. Someone is wondering how you can be sure that flag actually flew over America's capital. You see, the people from the valley, they've seen me at Target. They sell flags there. Well, folks, if you can't trust your local congressman, then perhaps it's wise that I brought a certificate of authenticity. America has stood with Ukraine for 365 days, and we will stand with Ukraine for as long as it takes. You know, foreign government for anything, but I see the Council Generals here. This flag is being awarded. It's a flag that flew the U.S. Capitol. I would like you to bring me a Ukrainian flag that's been flown over Crimea.
The video greetings from the United States Congressman and Senate candidate.
Today marks 1 year. On this day, we remember those who sacrificed their lives defending Ukraine, and we keep in our thoughts the millions still in harm's way. For those defending freedom on the front lines, those forced to flee the violence, members of the Ukrainian community, and groups like Ukrainian Culture Center of LA that are working tirelessly to support refugees, celebrate Ukraine's culture, and raise awareness of the war, I stand with you. For my repeated trips to Ukraine over the years, and most recently with Speaker Pelosi in May of 2022, to my engagements with the Ukrainian community here in California, I continue to be inspired by the courage, resiliency, perseverance of the Ukrainian people. We know the road ahead will not be easy as Russia intensifies offensive operations in Bakhmut. But Ukrainian soldiers continue to fight with extraordinary bravery. Our commitment to Ukraine will never waver, and I will continue to advocate in the U.S. Congress for robust support for our Ukrainian partners to ensure they have what they need to continue to stand up to the murderous dictator in the Kremlin and to meet the humanitarian needs of all Ukrainians. Your fight is our fight. It is the fight for democracy and for self-determination, for human rights and for freedom. We must continue to stand together for Ukraine. Glory to Ukraine. Thank you.
Distinguished guests, Reverend Fathers, Congressman Chairman, Supervisor Police, fellow Consul General, representative of the city of Los Angeles, dear Ukrainians. We have gathered here today as hundreds of thousands of people around the world have gathered on the city squares, buildings and other places of the biggest cities of the world to mark 365 days. 365 days of Ukrainian resilience, of wrath and anger, 365 days of dignity, and 365 days of faith and unity. A year ago, we remember how a massive Russian force hung over Ukraine, preparing to blow a devastating blow to our country and wipe it off the map of the world. A year ago, the first strikes hit our country in the morning of 24th of February. And this is a year since everything changed for Ukraine, everything changed for Europe, and everything changed for the world. But that time, Ukrainian people made a choice to fight for their lives, fight for their loved ones, and against all odds, we were able to stop a much stronger aggressor and kick him out of the half of the newly occupied territories. We regained Zmyny Island, Kievskaya Oblast, Chernigivskaya Oblast, Sumskaya Oblast, then Kharkiv, and then finally Kherson. Still a lot to regain control of, but still good. But the aggressor was stopped at a very high price. Many lives of Ukrainians were lost, soldiers, civilians, and children. But Russia has paid a much bigger price. They already lost almost 150,000 of their troops. But even after failing so badly and losing so many, Russia still wants to destroy Ukraine as a nation. And no one should be fooled by Russia's empty calls for negotiations. The situation on the front line proves that they want war, they don't want peace. And they are on attack along all the front line, from Dnipro River to Russia border. They keep striking Ukraine's civil infrastructure with salvos of cruise missiles and Iranian-made drones. Even as we speak right now, we can listening to the news, we can see in the news that the Russians have sent new wave of drones which are flying right now from Chernihiv Oblast to Kyiv. They are flying very low to avoid our air defense, our defense so far so good. And right now, 300,000 Russian troops are on Ukrainian land currently. So the world has seen terrible atrocities committed by Russians in the occupied area. Order of unarmed civilians, torture, rape, shooting, terror, and indiscriminate shelling, forcible deportation of Ukrainian children into Russia, and forceful adoption of them into Russian families to re-educate them as Russians. There's nothing else but genocide. And for Ukraine, giving up this fight would mean that this would be committed all over our territory. A lot of talks about peace are these days. As Congressman Sherman mentioned, there are proposals from Asian countries. But what is peace? Is it the peace? Is it a freedom of the occupier to rule over the territory which he has captured? Maybe it's impunity for war criminals, or a chance to prepare for a new war crimes. Because this is what the peace means for Russia. And we will only worsen the situation if we replace one unreality by another one, including peace. True peace came in 1945, after the Second World War. And it happened not because the good forces of good stopped fighting, but because the evil was defeated. And peace also means justice. And 3 months ago, President Zelensky introduced his vision of peace, of comprehensive, just, and long-standing peace in Ukraine, as well as for the global security. And that's called the Peace Formula, which includes many items, including also the restoration of the sovereignty of Ukraine into all our recognized, internationally recognized borders, and also tribunal for war criminals, for Russian war criminals. Because never in recent history has the world seen the line between good and evil being so clear. So one country, Ukraine, merely wants to be, and the other country, Russia, wants to kill and destroy. And we never wanted war, we never wanted fighting, we just are protecting our own land, and our forces are standing on our own territory. And we know that we are fighting, but we know what Russians are fighting for. This is why the calls, which have heard, even within the United States, some of the political circles, to cease delivery of weapons, ammunition, and financial aid to Ukraine, probably political goals, are very badly misplaced. To help a nation which is defending itself. That's why we're so grateful for the United States, for the administration, for Congress, for the help that we have received, including Javelins, Stingers, HIMARS, Bradleys, Patriots, Abrams, and hopefully soon we will stay taking for F-16s and Attackers. And this war should not stop, it should only continue, because this is the only way how to end this war soon, and to make sure that Ukraine will win. Because if Ukraine doesn't win, and the world would actually drown in chaos, and we would allow the aggressor to come and capture any territories they want. And this would happen all over the world. So with the help of the international community, we believe that we can win this war, and Ukraine can restore its sovereignty. So just 2 days ago, 141 countries voted in favor of the United Nations resolution called Principles Underlying Comprehensive, Just, and Lasting Peace in Ukraine. So Russian myth that it's only the West which supports Ukraine has been ruined, because 141 votes means the whole world supports Ukraine. Still, we know that there are some countries who, even after a year of war, even after seeing what Russia has committed in Ukraine, which still think or say, you know, we want to be friends with both Ukraine and Russia, and let it just go end with whatever result. But the problem is, exactly as Congressman said, that there are no two equal sides in this war. There is one aggressor and one victim. So everybody should be standing on the side of the one who is defending itself. And Ukraine in this war has lost a lot, but also gained something. Ukraine has become stronger, has found new friends, new partners, understood who the real enemies, and the whole world knows now what means the Slava Ukraini, and know how to reply Heroям Slava, So we want to believe that soon the citizens of Melitopol, Kakhovka, Berdyansk, and hundreds of other Ukrainian cities will be able to say thus again. And I also want to thank all the Ukrainian organizations of Southern California, of the whole California, who were helping so much. Larissa Rifle mentioned every one of them, so I want to thank you on behalf of the Ukrainian consulate, because your help and your contribution to Ukrainian resistance is as strong as the Ukrainians who are in Ukraine. You know, 26th of February, today is 26th of February, in Ukraine we mark the day of the resistance to occupation of Crimea. In 2014, Russian aggression actually started with the invasion of Crimea, so it's logical that the liberation of Crimea will be the end of the Russian occupation, Russian attempts to capture Ukraine forever. And I would just finish with quoting President Zelensky, who said that, you know, Ukrainians on the 24th of February a year ago decided not to raise the white flag, as everyone was expecting, but actually to defend the blue and yellow flag. And Ukrainians have become one family. There are no more strangers among us. Ukrainians are all together fellows and friends. Ukrainians have sheltered other Ukrainians, opened their homes and their hearts to those who were forced to flee from the war. And Ukrainians will withstand everything, will withstand any missile attacks, drone attacks, with guns and bombs. But it's much stronger than that. This was a year of resilience, a year of care, a year of bravery, a year of pain, a year of hope, a year of endurance, and a year of unity. And this will be the year of invincibility, a furious year of invincibility. And the main result of the previous year was that we endured. We were not defeated, and we will do everything possible to win and gain victory this year. Slava Ukraini!
Thank you. Please welcome to the stage Forbes writer and founder of the Legacy Leaders Institute, Miss Isabella Lambert.
What would you say if younger version of yourself, 16 or 17 years old, was asked this question? What are you willing to sacrifice or do, preserve or regain your freedom? When I was asked the question, I didn't know what to say. Very quickly, I had a million answers. As the war started unfolding last year, 366 days ago, a lot of memories brought flashbacks. Because I started looking at the refugees and young youths escaping Ukraine. And before you could tell how their youth of 16, 17, 18-year-olds turned into young adults. Then I remember 1990, when I was asked a question. We were in peaceful Yugoslavia. Everything was great. I had 1 million planes. I was supposed to go celebrate my friend's birthday with my friends, going to concerts. And before I knew, when 1991 arrived, unspeakable started happening. Bloodbath in Croatia, followed with bloodbath in Bosnia and Herzegovina in 1992. Seconds, minutes, days start feeling like eternity. These mountain years felt in contrary as a seconds. Because everything was happening fast, yet in slow motion. was watching what was going on, I was also exposed to unspeakable. I was asked to spread propaganda news in order to get some favors to save my dying father from diabetic complication due to lack of insulin and proper care. My mom, nurse, was helping others to save their lives. And through my conversation with my dad, he said something very powerful. He said, Bella, I want to die peacefully in my own home. That is my dying wishes. I want you, on the other hand, to find a way to save your older sister, who was also diabetic and starting developing health complications. He was very wise man. He knew that he needed to give me something bigger than me, the new mission, because he also knew that I was a rebel. Sophia. And the plan that came along as we were already in 1993, that felt like eternity. New plan was formed that helped me to find a way to escape. Through my uncles and cousin and my father, the last convoy was the last ticket for my sister, who was sick and elderly, and I was her escort. Opportunity for me to escape with her. Through that process, I also have to face saying goodbye to my loved ones without ever knowing I'm going to have a chance to see them again. I looked in the deep, wise eyes of my grandmother, woman that survived the First World War, the Second World War, and now she was in the midst of the Balkan War. And I didn't know at that point if I'm ever going to see her again. Saint Hunting really stood out to me when Roman Shernetta shared the video of his grandmother when he just visited her a few weeks ago in Ukraine, and where she powerfully, with same wisdom, said, I survived Hitler, I survived Stalin, and I will survive Putin. With such a conviction, and then I have to say goodbye to my mom. But the hardest goodbye was with my younger sister. She was minor, and I was not able to take her outside of the country. She reminded me of the girl that I saw, Ukrainian, powerful, beautiful girl, with hands stretched up, facing so close Russian soldier that was standing next to a tank, trying to bully her. And what I saw stopped me in tracks. I watched that video at least 6 or 7 times as I was crying, remembering not only being her age, but having my sister at that age, and how she also felt with a million questions and very few answers. Why she can't go to school, why she can't have a normal life, why she lost her father, why she now losing her sisters, why we're separating. All the realities that so many Ukrainian families are facing today. But when we're looking back, how many people, in my opinion, survived war? And by surviving the war, I believe one is too many. And when we look at generations that will be surviving wars for a third time in their lifetime, we have duty to do something different. We can't keep going on like that. Because through that journey, I also learned we all have very strong, unbreakable spirit because we're more resilient than anybody wants us to believe. But we all also have our breaking point. As of escaping through Bosnia, through Herzegovina, and then Croatia, I witnessed also how manipulation of news and propaganda can make a huge detriment to the people. I saw graveyard sites of fresh graves in the villages and towns that were completely demolished. Through that journey, I also learned my father's cousin, who made me that one plus on the last convoy for sick and elderly with my sister to escape, was shot behind his head, execution style, because he didn't follow rules and he made too many mistakes. Another survival guilt to worry about and reconcile over the years to come. And then, as we look at, I couldn't help not to think the young girl with eyes full of wonder, who was absolutely mesmerized by first Winter Olympic Games that took place in Sarajevo, Bosnia in 1984. I was so happy to see so many flags, to hear so many languages, to learn about these amazing countries, to look at them on geographical maps, as we all, I felt the whole world came together to celebrate unity and also to ensure the peace. That's why Olympics are for. Not just to compete and win, but to participate. Complacency, I learned, kills the most. Because after my survival and escape to Sweden, and years later, arriving to the United States as a refugee, in the end of 96, 97, I looked at my journey. New journey just started. That is the journey of the refugee. We have opportunity to really dig deep. We need that unity more than ever. Because if I didn't have a chance to escape when I did in fall of 1993, I will not be standing here today and speaking to you. Fortunately, many of my friends and loved ones and family members didn't have that option, and they're not here today. As I look at, war ended in 1995 when the Dayton Agreement was signed. And what happened then? Our friends in Ukraine, they don't have 5 or 6 years of war. We have to do better. We have opportunity to also speak up with Olympic Committee. Because unless we do, even though we're so strong and unbreakable, we all have a breaking point. And if we don't have a people, but yet we have a land who is going to rebuild the country and the nation from ashes, we have to focus on helping right now, because our friends will not have 2, 3, 4, or 5 years to fight. Slava Ukraini!
Thank you, Ms. Lambert. Speaking next is Los Angeles Supervisor Hilda Solis of the 1st District, including East Hollywood. Please give her a warm welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hello.
Afternoon.
I'm Supervisor Hilda Solis, and I represent what is called the 1st District of Los Angeles County. And I'm happy and pleased to say that just a year ago, they redistricted our seats. So now I represent, with great pride, East Hollywood and this community. As you know, Friday marked the one-year anniversary of Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine. 1 year since thousands of Ukrainians began fleeing horrific destruction as their cities and their villages came under bombardment. 1 year of families enduring violence, trauma, and displacement. 1 year since children were robbed of their childhood and a peaceful life. Los Angeles County, you may know, is home to more than 26,000 people of Ukrainian descent. That is why on March the 1st, in 2022, the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors voted to officially condemn the war of aggression against Ukraine. And on March 15th of 2022, the Board of Supervisors approved a motion that I put forward, which directed several of our county departments to work with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Office of Refugee Resettlement, the California Department of Social Services, and other key agencies to provide assistance, including but not limited to cash aid, medical and mental health care services, and workforce development and immigration legal assistance to new Ukrainian arrivals resettling here in Los Angeles County. That motion also asked the county's chief executive officer to provide Angelenos of Ukrainian descent with information about available support services, such as obtaining temporary protected status, affirmative immigration relief available for themselves and relatives that they can sponsor from abroad, mental health care, and other wraparound services. As the refugee numbers grew and the conflict continued to unfold, it was imperative that the County of Los Angeles prepare and coordinate with appropriate government and non-governmental agencies, many who are represented here today, to provide them with unwavering support. And it wasn't just the county that stood in solidarity with Ukraine, but many other local governments and organizations. And for that, I am very grateful, and I am also inspired and very hopeful. From taking of farms to staging protests and raising their voices in the face of Russian aggression, the Ukrainian people have shown great bravery. They truly are an example of valor and courage. So just like President Biden did over the weekend when he visited Ukraine, I too reaffirm Los Angeles County's unwavering commitment to Ukraine's democracy and sovereignty. I stand with President Biden in his actions to support Ukraine with resources and his continued call to impose sanctions on those supporting Russia.
Yeah!
Vladimir Putin thought Ukraine was weak when he invaded Ukraine 1 year ago. But boy, oh boy, was he wrong. People from all over the world have united in their support of Ukraine, and we will continue to do so for a long time, because this is an unjustified war. I thank the Ukrainian Arts Center as well as the Ukrainian Cultural Center of Los Angeles for hosting us today, and for their continued work to provide humanitarian and other aid to our Ukrainian brothers and sisters. Glory to Ukraine. On a final note, I just want to say that in my previous life as a congresswoman, I had the privilege of visiting Ukraine and visited your capital, Kyiv. What a magnificent country. I have fond memories of that travel
with my fellow colleagues in the Congress, and it was on a peace mission because we know what happened years ago with Chernobyl, and we know that we must not allow anything like that to ever, ever happen again. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. In this terrible war, Ukraine is staying strong and will definitely win, thanks to our brave and unbreakable army and people, thanks to international support at all levels, and the tireless work of our volunteers. The next video is a tribute to our incredible volunteers. Please enjoy.
Луна, Луна, Луна. Смотри, Луна. Луна. Но не надо так. Но, смотри туда. Ах, Луночка, не вести. Что ты не можешь красить? Ты не можешь
We now please welcome to the stage our dear supporter and friend, Consul General of the Republic of Lithuania in Los Angeles, Ms. Laima Juregisi.
Луна, Луна.
Great job.
Луна, стой.
Dear Ukrainians, dear friends of Ukraine, wonderful guests. My country, Lithuania, regained its independence 33 years ago. For more than 3 decades, we have enjoyed the restored independence, often saying that Lithuania, now as a member of the European Union and NATO, has never been as secure as it is today. But these days, another truth is more than obvious. Freedom is not a gift. The struggle for freedom never ends. Today, we all came here together to express support and solidarity with Ukraine, with the people of Ukraine, with the Ukrainian community here in Los Angeles, and to pay tribute to the victims of Russia's military aggression in this country. February 24th, Russia started its brutal war of aggression against Ukraine. That night, the world woke up to the sounds of missiles and bombs exploding over peaceful Ukrainian cities. Moscow unprovoked, unjustified, and barbaric aggression against its sovereign and independent neighbor not only opened a new chapter in the history of the world, but also changed architecture of Europe. 1 year ago, we had a meeting here in Ukraine Cultural Center. At that time, what we could not imagine was the scale and horror of the atrocities Russia was doing. Today as well, 26 February also marks the day of resistance to the occupation of Crimea and Sevastopol. 9 years ago, Russia's illegal annexation of the Autonomous Republic of Crimea and the siege of Sevastopol paved the way for systematic restriction of human rights and fundamental freedoms in the temporary Russian occupied territories. It also laid the foundation for the subsequent scale military aggression against Ukraine, which we're facing now. Today I represent not only Lithuania, but also my EU member, European Union member states colleagues here in Los Angeles, as part of this year called a new local chair functions, or as the acting local presidency of European Union for Sweden. 1 year on, the EU and its member states continues to condemn in the strongest possible terms Russia's unprovoked and unjustified military aggression against Ukraine, which is blatant violation of international law, including the UN Charter. We call on Russia to immediately and unconditionally cease all hostilities, withdraw the military and military equipment from the entire territory of Ukraine, in full respect of Ukraine's sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity with its international recognized borders. From the beginning, the European Union has reacted swiftly and strongly with unprecedented support to Ukraine and with the largest sanction packages in the Union's history. To support Ukraine itself, since the start of the war, the European Union and our member states have made available over 73 billion in financial, military, humanitarian, and refugee assistance, with more to come. This includes an unprecedented commitment of up to 19 billion in financial assistance this year. Members of the European Council in their statement of 24th February highlighted the Ukrainian people have shown incredible strength in defending their homeland and the core principles of international law against Russian aggression. The Ukrainian people have shown the world that the future of Ukraine is for Ukrainians to decide. No country has a right to invade its neighbor or violate its sovereignty and territorial integrity. This aggression is a crime against peace. It violates UN Charter, UN principles, and the values of mankind. It cannot and should not remain passive in the follow of such crimes. We are determined to ensure that all those who are responsible for war crimes and others most serious crimes committed in connection with Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine are held to account. Russia has weaponized food and energy, made deeply irresponsible nuclear threats, and spread false narratives about the war. Russia's war of aggression and its consequences have significantly affected many countries, notably through its impact on the global economy, food, and commodity prices. The European Union will continue to work with partners to mitigate these attacks and to provide assistance to the countries and people most in need. Ukraine is part of our European family. Since Ukraine's independence, the European Union has stood by its strategic partner to help ensuring a stable, prosperous, and democratic future for its citizens. And in June last year, Ukraine was granted EU candidate status. The European Union will continue to support Ukraine in political, economic, humanitarian, financial, and military terms. We will also support Ukraine's reconstruction. We will further increase collective pressure on Russia to end its war of aggression. To this end, we will adopt a 10-sanction package, and we will take steps against those who attempt to circumvent European Union measures. We support President Zelensky's peace formula. Together with our international partners, we will make sure that Ukraine prevails, that international law is respected, that peace and Ukraine's territorial integrity within its internationally recognized borders are restored, that Ukraine is rebuilt, and that justice is done. Until that day, we will not rest for certain members. Also, I wanted to refer to the UN resolution which you mentioned. It's very important, overwhelming support, and it was big applause when 141 countries voted in favor. And it shows a hope that Russia finally understands that peace in Ukraine must be achieved only in line with the UN Charter. Also, I would like to say that we are proud to stand together with our special allies, the United States of America, the leader of the World Coalition to support Ukraine. many of you already know and cooperate and assist as much as we can together with my colleagues here. You're doing a great job, and I also would like to invite everyone here in Los Angeles, in California, all around the United States to join them in their efforts to bring Ukrainian victory closer. And to conclude, I would like to stress that today Ukraine defending not only this country, they defend us, all democratic world. International order. I would like to ensure that we will always stand with Ukraine. And our support to Ukraine remains unwavering. Разом до перемоги.
Professor of Economics at Case Western Reserve University and the founding rector of American University in Kiev.
It is good to be here on this such a special occasion. My name is Roman Shermana. I'm a professor of economics at Case Western Reserve University. I'm also a founding rector of American University, Kiev. And it happened to be that I'm also a member of the National Council of Recovery of Ukraine. It's an advisory board to President Zelensky. Last year, I made a choice that I want to go back to Ukraine for at least some time to invest in the future leaders of Ukraine. Together with different partners and stakeholders, we opened American University Kiev. It was 1 month before Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. But we didn't stop. The war didn't stop us. Russia didn't stop us. We opened the university, a beacon of light at that time, what seemed to be a very dark night. Of course, since the beginning of war, I knew that I needed to do more. And probably like most of you, I spend countless hours doing everything I can to help Ukraine. It would average 80, 100 hours a week. I would run the university by daylight. Then I would deliver humanitarian aid to Ukraine by planes. We had some delivered by cargo. I went to the front lines. I was under shelling. I had to hide in bomb shelters. During the daylight, I would go to the hospitals to pray for the children who lost their limbs. But I'm not alone. As Larissa already pointed out, there's a whole army of people here that have already been doing so much. And we found help in the most unlikely places. From the smallest countries like Estonia, Latvia, from people of Poland, with whom we actually have a history, right? And they turn out to be our brothers and sisters in this difficult time. The American people
And even last month, this month, we did a benefit concert in Cleveland, and a co-host of the concert that we put it together was a Korean professor. And I realized that Korean people actually went through the same pain that we're going today. So everyone, all of you who helped Ukraine to stand, I thank you. I do want to take some time talking with you today about Ukrainian fight for freedom. I want to give you a little history lesson, that this fight is already going on for more than 300 years. And especially the last 100 years were very brutal. You remember the events of Holodomor in 1932, where more than 4.5 million Ukrainians died because of the man-made famine by the same Russians that are killing us today in Ukraine. The mass deportation of Ukrainian nationalists. My grandpa and grandma were prosecuted. Most of my family on my mom's side lives in Canada as an early diaspora because they had to flee. One of my aunts, she was transported in a cement block, having only several holes to breathe through. That's how she got out of the Soviet Union. My grandma was beaten to death. As a young woman, the KGB agents believed her to be dead, and they left her in the field to be buried in the ground. But the person who saw her twitching, they couldn't finish the job, so they let her go. She rolled back home. My grandmother, her mother, didn't recognize her. Of course, this continued. In 2014, Russia annexed Crimea, and in 2022, a year ago, Russia continued its genocidal work against Ukrainian people. And I just want you to realize what Ukrainians are fighting. They're fighting for the Ukrainian way of life. They're fighting for Ukrainian freedom, and they're fighting for a way to survive, just to live. Russia's clearly stated from the beginning of the war that they are here to eliminate Ukraine. Timothy Snyder, he's a colleague of mine, he's a professor at Yale University. He said that, and he wrote many pieces providing evidence that Russia is committing genocide against Ukraine today. Let me give you a few of those evidence. There's a humanitarian research lab report from Yale University that was just recently released documenting Russia's systematic effort to abduct Ukrainian children and prevent them from returning to Ukraine, and then, quote, to re-educate them to become pro-Russian. At least 6,000 documented cases of Russia abducting Ukrainian children. How do we call that? We have a word for that. It's genocide. The Russian TV host just recently, Anton Krasovsky, is openly called in Russia today, and I'm going to quote, "Drown Ukrainian kids and burn them alive," end of quote. The UN has recently released the whole account of the atrocities that they have discovered, the rape, torture, execution of the Russian troops. In one case, the report said that the ages of victims of sexual assault range from 4 years to 20 years old. Let me repeat it again, 4 years old. The atrocities of Russians have no bounds. Just this month I watched the video of the Minister of Defense of Ukraine. Ukraine, Alexei Reznikov, and he said, I'm going to quote again, in Chernihiv Oblast, the armed forces entered a liberated village and there lay a murdered mother, to whom the Russians tied a crying baby with tape. Our soldier cut the tape to take the child away, and a grenade exploded between the child and the mother. You don't have to go that far. The Russian official press agency RIA News has published an explicit program to complete elimination of Ukrainian people. It's available today. You can go and read it for yourself. It's a book of genocide. This is something that even Hitler didn't do. They tried to hide the atrocities. Concentration camps were a secret. We have an open guideline that is published for anybody who is sitting today to read. You can read it. I'll give you the links. This month, the U.S. has officially acknowledged that Russians are committing crimes against humanity in Ukraine. The report outlined that, and I'm going to quote, Russian acts are not random or spontaneous. They are part of the widespread and systematic attack against Ukrainian civilian population. So it must be clear that Ukrainian people are fighting not just for their freedom, but also for survival. And yes, we are fighting. We are fighting. We are fighting. From the first day of the invasion, the Ukrainian armed forces has shown Russia what it means to be a Ukrainian, what it means to get into Ukraine. And now, 1 year later, they said 3 days. 3 days. 1 year later, we have recaptured about 50% of the territory that Russia captured originally. Russia lost more. Russia lost more than 150,000 troops, or almost 157,000 armored vehicles, more than 3,000 tanks. Their losses each month amount to what they have lost during the Afghanistan war over 10 years. Each month, they are losing that much. But the fight, of course, is not over. And it comes at a tremendous price. We're paying incredible price. Hundreds of Ukrainian soldiers die daily. Daily. In the past year, Russia has killed over 500 children. Almost 1,000 wounded. And tens of thousands of orphans. Always reminded the ones that I met at the hospital in Bakhmut who have lost limbs, who have lost parents, and some of them didn't even know that they lost parents yet. When Kyiv was fully liberated and I was able to go to Bucha and their team, I was under the bridge, where at one point in time, more than 1,000 Ukrainians were hiding. They found this toy from a kid, a Ukrainian kid who was hiding while the shells were exploding. Sometimes in the midst of these statistics, we can lose the very fact that we're talking about human beings. This could be your son who was playing and getting his shells, bombs are exploding around. In Bucha, we went right after the liberation, and we found shrapnel just in the middle of the houses, and the mines, the booby traps. I mean, they were just targeting civilians. This is what kills Ukrainian people. It's indiscriminate firing and destruction of infrastructure. Russians
destructive damage, just think about this number, over 149,000 homes. Hundreds of hospitals, schools, for the amount of more than $200 billion. Ukraine has lost about 30% of its GDP in this year. This will account for at least 15 years of recovery. If the war were to stop now. Inflation, 30%. We in America complain about inflation, get a life. 30% inflation, 30% unemployment. The economic losses are staggering. But such is the price of freedom. And we need to stand with Ukraine today. We need to stand with Ukraine. Let me give you just a few reasons why. I mean, there should not be any reasons. We don't need to give an explanation, but let me give you. First of all, it is a moral obligation of all of us to do what is right. And standing with Ukraine is just the right thing to do, period. Seeing a genocide and doing nothing is the sign of complete moral bankruptcy. I'm going to quote Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who stood against Nazi Germany and against Hitler. Silence in the face of evil is itself evil. God will not hold us guiltless. Not to speak is to speak. Not to act is to act. There's no neutrality. There's no neutrality when you see atrocities committed against an independent country. We stand with Ukraine also because we have an obligation. If you know, in 1994, we as the United States, we actually agreed to defend Ukrainian sovereignty, to help Ukraine, because Ukraine has... This is something we need to be reminded. This is not just out of our kind heart, but because of the integrity and obligation that the United States has before Ukraine. I'm going to quote Steve Pfeiffer, who is a U.S. diplomat who participated in the talks leading to the Budapest Memorandum. I'm going to quote him. There is an obligation to the United States that flows from the Budapest Memorandum to provide assistance to Ukraine, and that would also include lethal military assistance because of the Budapest Memorandum. So I don't get it. Why are we even complaining? Why are we giving weapons to Ukraine? It is our obligation. We also support Ukraine because Ukraine is fighting for freedom. And remember, if you remember our Declaration of Independence and our Constitution, liberty and freedom is the fundamental value on which we stand. And this is what we are fighting for. This is what Ukrainian people are fighting for freedom, for liberty. Now, we also stand with Ukraine because we stand against dictatorship. Russia has been ruled by the same dictator for more than 20 years. Unfortunately, Russian people have become complacent with this rule and behave as if they are slaves ruled by a dictator. Somebody stated, I don't know who the author is, but I believe in these words. Putin's fatal mistake was to send slaves to liberate the free people of Ukraine. And finally, we stand with Ukraine because we want peace in the world. Ukrainian victory over Russia will do more to the US and the world's security than any other policy. We can spend billions of dollars on all these different policies, but when Ukraine wins over Russia, this will send the signal to all the other countries around the world who may have any crazy imperialistic ambitions, that if they do that, what happened to Russia will happen to them. So Russia not only has to be defeated, Russia has to be humiliated on the battlefield. This is how we will ensure the world peace. And this is why Ukraine must win, and this is why Ukraine will win. Ukraine will win. To quote Mitch McConnell, I'm finishing my speech, the US Republican Senate leader, he said, defeating the Russians in Ukraine is the single most important event in the world right now. And the war is in a crucial stage today, and Ukraine needs all the support it can get to push Russian forces out of the country and to win this war. The only path towards lasting peace in Ukraine and a geopolitical calm in the world is a decisive victory of Ukraine. Only a complete defeat of Russia can guarantee the safety of not only Ukraine, but also the rest of the world. Just this week, I was in Ukraine. I flew a couple days ago. And I spoke to my grandma. I have a video that I posted in my social media accounts. And my grandma, she said that she survived Stalin, that she survived Hitler, and she will survive Putin. But whether that actually happens depends on all of us. Please realize whether the dream of my grandma actually is realized depends on all of us. After the World War II, we created this phrase, never again, as a reminder that genocide and atrocities committed by Nazi Germany in the 1940s. And today, history is repeating itself with a new fascist regime trying to eliminate the nation of Ukraine. And we need to stand with Ukraine in this fight for freedom and survival. Otherwise, the phrase, never again, will be a shameful reminder that even after all the atrocities of Hitler, we have learned nothing. Please, help my grandma to get her dream to reality. Slava Ukraini!
Every year, at the beginning of March, Ukrainians around the world honor the memory of the most famous Ukrainian poet and writer, Taras Shevchenko. In 2022, the celebration of Shevchenko's heritage did not take place due to the beginning of Russian aggression. Shevchenko warned us more than once against friendship with Russia, because he spent 24 years under the yoke and serfdom, and more than 10 years in the harshest conditions of exile. We believe, however, that your words will definitely come true. Кожного року на початку березня українці по всьому світу вшановують пам'ять найвидатнішого українського поета та пророка Тараса Григоровича Шевченка. У 2022 році, як і багато інших подій, свято Шевченка не відбулось через початок російської агресії. Тарас не раз застерігав нас від дружби з москалями, адже провів 24 роки під ярмом кріпацтва і понад 10 років у найжорсткіших умовах заслання. Ми віримо, Тарасе, що твої слова обов'язково здійсняться. І на оновленій землі врага не буде супостата, а буде син, і буде мати, і будуть люди на землі. And now please, welcome back to the stage Valdis Janssens, who will sing for us Думи, мої думи. Music by Микола Лисенка and the lyric by Тарас Шевченко. conducted by Ukrainian-American conductor Maxim Kuzin. They will sing Reveta Stovnetni Stroki, followed by Andrey's aria Владико Неба і Землі from the opera Zaporozhye за Дунаем. Korean tenor Ryan Oh will be soloing in the air aria.
Thank you.
Ukraine, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
On February 25th, 1871, the outstanding Ukrainian poetess and writer Lesa Ukrainka was born. The highly educated and progressive writer who could speak 10 languages back in the 19th century, she was very clear about the relationship between Ukraine and Russia. There can never be anything in common between us, she said. Lesa Ukrainka fought her issues, and she inspires us to fight today. Please welcome to the stage the sisters Sofia and Соломія Мельчук, who will be reciting the poem «Скрізь плач і сльози і ридання» by Леся Українка.
Крізь плач і сльози і ридання, несмілі поклики слабі, на долю марні нарікання і чола схилені в журбі. Над давнім лихом України ридаєм, плачем кожний час. З плачем ждемо тії години, коли спадуть кайдани з нас. Ті сльози розструють рани, загоїтись їм не дадуть, заржавіють від сліз кайдани, самі ж ніколи не спадуть. На що даремні її турботи? Назад нема нам воріття. Берімось краще до роботи, змагаємось за нове життя. Слава Україні!
Героям слава!
And finally, please welcome to the stage Ася Горська, Маргарита Кузіна, Марія Петруняк and Michael Крабицький. They will perform Ой у лузі червона калина, the emblem song of modern Ukraine's fight for freedom.
Червона калина похилилася.
Чогось наша славна Україна зажурилася. А ми нашу славну Україну, гей, гей, розвеселимо.
Марширують наші добровольці у кривавий хат, визволяти братів українців з московських кайдан.
А ми наших братів українців визволимо. А ми нашу славну Україну, гей, гей, розвеселимо.
Ой, у лузі червона калина похилилася. Чогось наша славна Україна зажурилася. А ми тую червону калину підіймемо. А ми нашу славну Україну, гей, гей, розвеселимо.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. We thank our troops for never giving up, and we firmly believe that Ukraine will win this terrible war. Yeah! Please take your time to explore the arts items you see around this hall presented by LA artists, and consider donating to continue helping Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!
Героям слава!
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, of course. I don't like
다른 분들 다 어디 가셨죠?
No. Because it's like, look at his mobile real quick.
It's just
Okay, okay. Alright.
It's fine.
Alright. They're gonna do it on the side, I guess. Sorry, I'm like grabbing my.
No,
I shouldn't do
I'm more
that.
concerned about safety and
Yeah, for sure.
somebody not burning
For sure.
Like if she runs into this.
Alright.